let's get started. I know it's early in the morning. Thank you for taking your morning to be here. We're going to be spending time in this room all day today with a series of customer story sessions. So I'll get started by introducing myself. My name is Samir Bhangar. I'm on the PowerCat team, which is the customer advisory team for PowerApps, Flow, and the Common Data Service. Quick question before we jump in and introduce our speakers. How many of you have donated to a nonprofit? How many of you work at a nonprofit? Actually, I'm curious. That is awesome. Okay, so you all get it, right? I don't have to give you any nonprofit-y spiel because you're doing the work. And essentially, who we'll have on stage today is your peers in some sense, right? Your peers, your colleagues from different organizations doing work with Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. And the first folks that are here, and get my clicker, have visited us from the UK. So the Leonard Cheshire is a charity in the UK, which Deepash is going to tell us about. Thank you so much, Deepash, for being here. I know it's a long flight, and luckily the jet lag hasn't kicked in as yet. So thank you for being here, and I'm going to hand it over to you to take it away and tell us about what you're doing with Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. Yeah.
Thank you, Samir. Good morning, everyone. So I'm here with Matt Vardy, who is from QuantiQ, and I want to talk to you about our journey today. So Leonard Cheshire was established just over 70 years ago, and initially to support care and support for disabled people who were injured during the Second World War. And now what we do is we provide care and support services across the length and breadth of the UK, as well as running education and employment programs in the UK and internationally. And what we want to do is try and support individuals to live, learn, and work as independently as they choose, whatever their ability. So as I said, we're working with QuantiQ to deliver quite an ambitious transformation program. And what we're expecting to do is to support this, to support our objectives, which is through pioneering research and innovation. We want to build a fairer, more inclusive society, and one that recognises the positive contributions that we can all make, and one that we're proud to play our part in. And now, while this session, Samir said, is around the Power Platform, I want to just talk a little bit about what we're doing on our transformation journey. So, some of the challenges that we face today. We've got 6,500 staff, of which just over a third have regular access to technology. So one of our challenges, how do we ensure that we can reach everyone? We've got lots of locations across the UK, so we've got challenges around bandwidth and connectivity. And we want to make sure that that's consistent and that we've got repeatable processes that can apply across the organisation. Within our care services in the UK, we want to give a chance for our staff to spend more time providing support to our customers. So we need quick and simple solutions that make it easy for them to do that. And that's what we're hoping to do by delivering through Dynamics. I just need to scroll down a little bit. And, so we've got lots of disconnected systems. We've got poor quality data. It's siloed. It's all the standard stuff, fragmented, costly, inefficient, paper-based processes, and just a lack of oversight around the customer journey, be you a supporter or a customer who's actually running through our programs. So that's where we come from. And so what we're doing, yes, we chose Dynamics, and we chose QuantiQ as our partner to help us implement this. So why? Well, standardized, transparent, efficient, effective business processes. We want to eliminate this kind of the silo mentality that people have, very protective of their data. We want to utilize greater mobility, access to all the systems on a variety of different devices, and therefore, as a result, have this better, more connected customer journey. This is what our current technology landscape looks like today. It is a bit of a mess, spaghetti junction, lots of systems, few data flows, but predominantly all disconnected, all standalone applications. And then we've got word-based processes currently looking after the health side of things, where we're recording all of our support plans. It's not great. But what will the future look like? As far as we're concerned, all our staff, the majority of our staff, will access everything via the Microsoft stack. So we'll have Power BI, and as Matt's going to talk to you about a little bit around PowerApps, all of this is going to be built on the customer engagement platform. We're utilizing the healthcare and not-for-profit common data models, integrating with F&O, so we only have one data entry point. And the expectation is that we hope to remove around 80% of our applications through this transformation program. So that's what's good. That is what good will look like. So now I'm going to hand over to Matt, who will talk to you a bit more, give you a bit more insight about what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Deepash. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform and what we're doing in conjunction with Leonard Cheshire to remove those 100+ disparate systems that Deepash described. This diagram, first of all, is just to provide an overview of what we're doing at Leonard Cheshire. It's a full digital transformation project to replace a large number of systems comprised of Dynamics 365 customer engagement for sales and marketing, and Dynamics 365 for finance and operations to replace existing finance systems. On top of that, we're utilising the common data models provided by Microsoft for the health common data model and the non-profits data models. So we're fully aligned with that so that we can build the Power Platform, bring the solution to life through not only Dynamics 365, but common data structures and schemas as well. I'm going to focus on just one part of that previous diagram, which is the health side in terms of social care services within the UK, operated by Leonard Cheshire. And the challenge there is that there's over 3,000 customers in those UK services receiving social care, health and support. Each customer could have a care plan comprised of almost 40 Word document elements. Could be movement and mobility, could be personal care, could be to support a tracheostomy, could be a variety of different things. As well as that, each Word document can be in first person or third person to support customers in care with disability, learning disability. What it means is you've got over 50,000 active documents at any one time to manage, to report on. It's extremely challenging for Leonard Cheshire with that setup. Not only that, it's required to have full version control. So how do we tackle the challenge? The screens there, they're examples of the Word documents of the different care plan elements. Well, the solution, surprisingly enough, is to leverage the Power Platform. So far we've introduced over 40 Canvas-based PowerApps within Leonard Cheshire. Many of those are to replace the Word document care plans that exist. We're also using them for need assessments to understand how many hours of support an individual needs as well. We have a Care Track app which can be used to evidence the care and support that's being provided within the services. So it could be to take a picture, add some notes, etc. All of that is going back into Dynamics 365 to provide that overview. Why do we choose PowerApps? Well, to replace the Word documents, to have that user experience, that UI, something that can have images, something that can have multiple connection sources, lots of different reasons. And when I go into the software a bit more, I will call out some of these. On top of that, we're using Microsoft Flow to print the plans, because as well as having a digital solution, there's still a need in this industry to print off the care plans as well. So we're actually printing from the PowerApps, and then we're using Power BI to provide that overarching solution. So what I now do is go into the system to show a demonstration. Okay, so I'm in Dynamics 365. Before I do that, I'll just bring up a couple of Word document examples. So this is just one area of a care plan, which is movement and mobility. And you can see two different versions. So we've got a first person and third person version to support different visualizations of those care plans. And what we're able to do with the Canvas PowerApps is toggle between those two different versions. So let's have a look at this. So if I go into Dynamics 365, so I'm in the part of the system here that's built on the healthcare data model. I go into support plans. I bring up one particular support plan like so. And you can see for this individual, Andrew, that there are a number of sub-plan elements lit up here for epilepsy, food and drink, etc. And we've also got a toggle down here to say whether the plan should be an easy read for the customer. Clicking across to this tab, you can see part of the assessment process when a customer moves into the service is what level of support, which areas of health and support are being provided. So each one of these toggles is effectively representing a Canvas-based PowerApp to replace those Word documents within the system. If I was to go into any one of these, let's say the personal care plan, I can do that. So this is kind of drilling down into just one part of the care plan, which is around personal care. Here is the active plan. So to support this customer at this point in time, this is the active plan with the detail there. At any point, the support worker can revise it. That will take a copy of it, and then you'd have a draft plan to go through a process with Dynamics 365. All of this before was a collection of Word documents within the service, which is the active plan, different folders, everything filed away on local file servers within each support setting. Very important is the version control. I want to go back in at a point in time and see what that plan was. So what probably I'm described so far is that these are Canvas-based PowerApps, Power Platform, embedded in the model-driven experience of Dynamics 365. So I can look at a point-in-time history and say, well, actually, what was the personal care support for this individual 6 months ago? We also have a Canvas-based PowerApp for risk assessments. And when we first start to speak to Leonard Cheshire about these care plans and how to replace them, originally, it wasn't so obvious about Power Platform. It's actually enabled us to do all the things that we wanted to do to replace those Word documents. I'll just show you an example of a draft assessment. This is where you can calculate all the different hours of support. You can say, okay, how many people do we need in the morning, in the afternoon to support that individual and how long for? All of that calculates up within the one system and then would feed the quoting and contracts billing process that Leonard Cheshire have with the local authorities in the UK. Previously, that was all an Excel-based manual processes between different teams, lots of duplication of data. Another example here is the Care Tracker PowerApp. So this is a support worker in the care home service, taking a picture, evidencing the good work, the support that they do, and capturing it with notes, with tags to explain, what kind of support, etc. that's for. All of it coming back into Dynamics 365 to help evidence the good work that Leonard Cheshire do. Okay, so what I'll do now is just bring up another example. So I've got another plan here, which I'll just drag in. So I'll navigate through just to show you some of the processes within the system. And here we can see the different plans. So I can double click on that, go into personal care, and look at the active record. Now this is the other version of the plan, which without the pictures, this is the third person version of that plan. And this download button here is to print the plan. So this is where we're using Microsoft Flow. So Microsoft Flow is being called from the PowerApp to do a mail merge and then return the printed document to the support worker to hand it to the customer or the family of the customer. Okay, shall try that later. So just go back into a few more areas, and just to say, as well as I was showing you the personal care example, I'm quite anxious to show you the number of different Power Apps that we've got. So here's one, for instance, for food and drink. And what we found is that we can spin up these Power Apps really quickly. We can create templated solutions to do all the different kinds of support that is needed. So, I mean, it's really, really been very advantageous for the project. How are we for time?
Good on time.
Okay. I think I've probably got to the end of the demonstration. So.
The one question I had on this one is, sounds like you've really taken advantage of this combination of the Dynamics model-driven Power Apps experience, right, and then the kind of customized Canvas experience that runs inside it.
Yeah, that's the key thing. And also the version control. The Power Apps have really helped with version control. So you go to any part of the plan, like this, food and drink, and wouldn't be so easy before, but now you can go in and see the complete history of that plan, full version controls of that. So in one place, we're not only seeing the active plan, a draft that's maybe waiting for approval, but we're also seeing all of the history as well.
So one question I had on that is, how do you decide, and I get this question from a few folks, some of them might be in the audience at the moment nodding their heads, how do you decide when do I use the model-driven experience? When do I use the Canvas experience? And I know from a Microsoft perspective, there's a lot of convergence coming around where those are getting closer and closer, and it's going to be more, more componentized. But at the moment, how do you decide what to do where?
That's a good question. The Canvas-based Power Apps really come into their own when you want to have a standalone process, something that's quite discrete in what you're trying to do. It could be to capture a picture, add some notes, or where you've got multiple connection sources, so you actually want to mash up different pieces of data. You maybe see a sort of document library alongside other bits of data. So Canvas apps, you've got full control over the user interface as well. You can make it look more or less how you want it to look. And that was very important for this use case, because one of the things we were trying to achieve with the Canvas-based Power Apps with Leonard Cheshire support workers was, not necessarily IT literate people, etc. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible to move from a Word document experience to this new system, Dynamics 365 with the Power Platform. So what we've done is we've, as closely as possible, replicated the Word documents in the Canvas-based Power Apps, something that wouldn't have been possible really with the model-driven. The model-driven app is far better at, business processes within Dynamics 365. So, working through an opportunity process. So, we're using we've built a fundraising solution within Dynamics 365 based on the non-profits common data model, and in there we've got model-driven functionality to help win bids and contracts from trusts and foundations. That's a much better use case for the model-driven apps, where you've got a business process flow, different people going into that system and collaborating. The powerful thing about what we see now within the product set is the ability to mix all of these things together. So you can use both, and you can embed, as we've been doing with Leonard Cheshire, you can embed Canvas-based Power Apps in the model to bring the best of the worlds together.
Awesome, thank you. I'm going to hand back to Dipash and switch back. I know you had a scenario that you want to close us out with.
Yeah, thanks, Samir. This for us is truly transformative, and just wanted to end with just a quick story. So I want to talk to you about Joan. So Joan is our support worker, and today she has to go and find a computer, print out that support plan, then talk to the customer, understand what the needs are, update that support plan, go and find a computer again, type it all in, and then print it out again and hand it over to the customer, because the support plan belongs to the customer. And then there's no visibility of that for any of the other support workers until they've gone and visited that customer. So it just means that you're spending more time doing administration activity rather than actually doing what our support workers should be doing, which is supporting the people that we care for. But tomorrow, with the work that we're doing with QuantiQ, it's going to be much easier. Joan will go and see Melissa here, we've got on screen. They'll just be discussing it and realise that, oh, there's an update that needs to be made to a support plan. Bring it up on her mobile phone, update that support plan through the PowerApp, and suddenly that's available for all the support workers to view instantly. And that truly will be transformative for Leonard Cheshire, and it's great what we're seeing, what we're going to be seeing being developed. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and we'll keep some time for questions once we've heard from all the speakers. Thank you again.
Thanks,
Nipash. Yeah. Thank you, Matt. Yep. Okay, so moving on, we've got two more. We're going to have Partners in Health and the American Red Cross. So next, I'll have Jarid Siegel, the Senior Director of Analytics at Partners in Health, based in Boston, share some of what you've been doing. And I know we got connected when you were looking at some of the Microsoft apps that we'd built, for Microsoft internally, and asked, hey, can we take these and deploy them within your Partners in Health? And then through that journey, you've had a number of apps that you've developed. I think you're going to show off some here as well. So
that's the idea.
Take it away, Jarid. All yours.
Thanks very much, Samir. So I'm Jarid, and I'm from Partners in Health, as you just heard. And unfortunately, a member of my team, Bella, couldn't be here today. She's the real engine behind a lot of this work. But I did assure her that I was going to do a good job of taking credit for everything. So she'll be hopefully happy to hear that. This is the clicker. Awesome. So what I'd like to do today is give a quick introduction to Partners in Health. We'll talk about our digital landscape, which is going to look pretty similar to the folks you just heard from. We'll do a quick example of a gift review, the gift review process that we defined and built out on the Power Platform. Talk about some of the key impacts, talk about what we learned, and then what we're trying to do next. So quick intro to Partners in Health. We're a nonprofit. Big surprise. Our mission is to provide a preferential option for the poor in healthcare. What that means is we partner with local governments and institutions in some of the poorest communities and countries all over the world, and we try and bring the best healthcare available to the people who need it most. We're headquarters in Boston, Massachusetts, and globally we employ a staff of about 17,000 people. These are some of the countries we work in: Haiti, Rwanda, Malawi, Lesotho, Sierra Leone. When you add all this up, we cover a population of about 8 million people with primary, secondary, and/or tertiary care. This is Bella and I. I've been with Partners in Health about 7 years, and I have a finance background. Bella's been with us about 4 years, and she has an operations background. So the point here is neither of us are developers. We don't know how to code anything. We just try and help people. So here is the digital landscape that we're dealing with. It looks very similar, I think, to what we just saw. We have silos. Each part of our organization grew up on its own in a way and built out its own systems. And there's Bella and I right in the middle of everything. We have sight lines into all the different departments, and we're trying to work with all these departments to help them get more out of their tools and the Microsoft stack, frankly. So some of the key challenges we face are data silos, people silos. We have a lot of disparate and legacy systems, which is something we'll talk about in a minute. And one of the key, well, I'll save that for later, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And we also have limited resources. As a nonprofit, we can't just throw money at problems, so we have to be creative. This, over time, has led to the old way of doing things, which for us has meant a lot of manual processes, and if you read between the lines, sometimes that means no process. Lots of reconciliations. We're tying out what this team says versus what that team says, which bubbles up frustration all over the organization. So why we really like the Power Platform is because it's been really flexible and easy to deploy for Bella and I. Without having to go and buy a new piece of software, we can try and build one. It allows us to connect with all the different parts of the organization, and ultimately, when people see these tools and start using them, they feel empowered to do their job better, and it sort of creates its own demand in a sense. People want more, and that makes our jobs really easy. So I'd like to go into a quick example of our gift review process. So the scenario for us is we have about 10 gift officers. These are people who talk to our donors. They are responsible for managing our 1,000 plus most generous donors. And this is Sarah. She's an actual gift officer at Partners in Health, hard at work in our office. The gift officers didn't really have a defined process for managing their portfolios or sharing information between how they manage their portfolios. Everybody had their own way of doing things. So there's no standardization, there was no data governance, and all of this was on top of an older and more rigid CRM, which was really hard to make changes in. So the team wanted a better process. They wanted better portfolio management. They wanted visibility into gifts and donations as they came in the door, and also be able to see all of their donors at once, and other elements of what they do on a day-to-day basis, maybe follow-ups, meetings that are coming up, things along those lines. So a 360-degree view of what's going on in their portfolios. All of this to sort of optimize the way that they do their workflows so that they can spend more time with their donors. So Bella and I, mainly Bella, sat down with the development team and architected a solution that looks something like this. We built a PowerApp that we'll show you in a second that allows gift officers to review gifts as they come in the door and essentially have a to-do list of a standard set of things that they should do every time a gift comes in the door. There are some supporting flows that allow the team to easily connect with our development operations team. If something is wrong or they have a question, they can quickly fire off an email to our development operations team and get it answered really quickly. And then we have a suite of Power BI reports, dashboards that pull everything together. All of this sits on top of a data warehouse and a SQL-based data warehouse with some OLAP cubes and SharePoint Online to pull in data from a couple of different data sources. This is what the PowerApp part of the solution looks like. First of all, we think it's a really simple user interface. It works well while you're traveling, and when our gift officers saw this, they were just so excited. This looks so different from the CRM that they use, which is about 15 or 20 years old. So when they saw this for the first time, their eyes just lit up. The view, when you open it, defaults to whoever is logged in, which just means less clicks. They don't have to be like, I'm me, and then find my gifts. It just knows who they are and shows them the gifts that are relevant to them. We've added some filtering capabilities at the top so folks can filter on a particular gift or a particular donor if they were anxious for one of those big gifts to come in the door. And on the right, you can see there's the checklist. And this is, by doing this exercise with the development team, we sort of developed and forced a standardized process. So not only did we build a tool to support the process, we defined the process along the way, which was a big step forward for us. But the checklist basically has a standard set of questions that they have to do when any gift comes in the door. Check that the fund got coded correctly. Check that we have backup documentation, things along those lines. And then there's a button at the bottom with a little text field where folks can enter in a question and send it right off to our development operations team so that they don't have to open up an email or walk down the, or if you're working remotely, you don't have to pick up a phone or anything like that. So it's all right there in one place. We also built a Power BI solution to this. So again, when the gift officers saw this, this looks very different from the reports that come out of our CRM or an Excel-based report. They're energized by the report. They want to click the buttons. They want to see their portfolio change. They want to see that graph go like, the target graph go like this as they get closer to their fundraising target throughout the year. So again, it was really easy to get people to use this because they wanted to the first time they saw it. In this Power BI, the nice thing is we pull all relevant data into one place. So actions that gift officers need to do, gifts that have come in the door, information about donors, biographical information, all in one place. They don't have to open up multiple reports. They see it all together. And again, you have the ability to filter by just them if they just want to see their portfolio, or for managers, they can click an all button at the top and see all of their portfolio. So this tool is starting to be useful not only for gift officers, but also the managers of gift officers. And we have a link, which is circled in orange there, to the gift review PowerApp. So at this point in time, there was 77 incomplete gifts. We have some homework to do. But if you're a gift officer, you can click right here, and it'll bring you right to the PowerApp, and vice versa. So it's starting to feel like a one-stop shop for anything they need to do around their portfolios. We really went to town on Power BI and built a number of different dashboards. This one the team really likes because of the interactive filters on the map. So when our gift officers are traveling or planning a trip, they can quickly come here and see, oh, I need to see these 4 donors, and look, they live really close to each other, so perfect. And we've also been able to show the actions that they need to do, so upcoming to-dos, anything that's overdue, and stuff that they've completed. And this has been fantastic, not only for the gift officers to stay on track of their work, but for managers to see what they have to do. And we've also been able to reinforce some data entry feedback loops in a good way, as managers are forcing the gift officers to go into the CRM and mark things complete. So that gives accountability and visibility and helps reinforce the overall process of people doing what they should and making sure that we're ultimately providing our donors with the best experience possible. So some of the key impacts. For gift officers, they now have a shared understanding of their portfolio metrics. Everybody's thinking about their portfolios in a similar way versus before, everybody could do it their own way. So there's been a good standardization there. They have real-time visibility into their portfolios. These things refresh. For us, real-time means overnight. That's fine. And that's essentially real-time. We don't have to press any buttons to refresh a report or email these reports around. It just happens automatically. There are notifications and workflows that are tied to donations, again, bolstering out the suite of processes and standardizing the way people communicate about processes, which has ultimately helped people understand how to get things done a little bit better, and has enabled our gift officers to spend more time with their donors, which is what they want to do. For Bella and I, some of the key impacts is this has been really easy to learn. We went to the App in a Day training. We were able to pick a lot of this stuff up really quickly, and that makes us excited because we're not afraid to offer to build more, help people build more, because it's easy to learn, it's easy to maintain. The low-code, no-code nature of these tools really empowers us to dig in and do more of this type of work. On top of that, when things change, it's not a daunting task to update a report or update an app. It's just easy to do and helps us stay in touch with the people who we're building these tools for to ultimately make them better over and over. And we just iterate a lot. So that's something I'll come back to in a second. But that iteration is key because our business processes will likely change over time. I mean, they change all the time. So the ability for us to go in and just make a tweak here or update that report there really helps us stay on top of things. And then for PIH overall, we've been able to really prolong the life of some of our legacy systems. So our CRM, we sort of breathe new life into our old CRM because the gift officers are re-engaged by using PowerApps and Power BI. We also have generated a ton of staff excitement. There's a whole laundry list of new app ideas and dashboard ideas that I'll get to as soon as I get back. And that ultimately has sparked us to start to want to build a center of excellence, which I'll get to in a second as well. So some of our key learnings and next steps. First key learnings, we worked very closely with our IT team to sort out the back end. That was sort of baseline. We just needed to get that done first. But once that was sorted out, we really learned that building these things is easy. So you just got to start. And when you finalize something, well, finalize is sort of having a new definition for us. Finalizing is iterative. It's something that's never really done, but that's okay. We like that, and it allows us to stay in touch with each team and check in maybe monthly, quarterly, and just see what they're liking, what they're not liking, and it just sort of continually drives improvement. So our takeaways are to just start. It's super easy. You click a few buttons and you can build your first app and get going. And then collaborate as you do it. We do a lot of screen sharing and meetings. We build stuff together in the room. You move buttons around together, and it gives the people who we're building these apps for a sense of ownership of the app, which then, again, makes them want to use it, makes them feel comfortable coming to us for ideas and feedback, and I think gives everybody a better experience as we move forward. And then again, iteration. I think I've said that a few times, but we iterate a lot. So our next steps is starting to tackle or figuring out how to tackle the laundry list of new app ideas that we're coming up with. So one of the ones I'm most excited about is a formulary app. A formulary for us is a list of items that we buy and then distribute to our sites around the world. So the data in this app is going to come from our supply chain system, our finance system, and from SharePoint. And we're going to be able to centralize it and have one source of truth for our doctors, clinicians, and pharmacists in the field. They are very excited about this, and so are we. We're going to build an adverse drug event app so when there's something wrong with a medication or a piece of medical equipment, we can report that to a central team and get on it. And as you can see, there's 5 apps here that are the list, but I think the actual list is 20 and too long to go into. So what we're doing to tackle this big laundry list of ideas is we want to start a center of excellence. Our overall goal is to identify problems across the organization. Bella and I don't know everything that goes on at Partners in Health, so we want to make sure that lots of people know that these tools exist and we can bubble up these problems and figure out which ones to solve first. We want to expand use of the platform and ultimately build capacity, as we also don't feel like, even as easy as it is to build these tools, other people can learn too. And we want to make sure that everybody across the organization, particularly in the field, eventually has the capacity to build these on their own. So our Center of Excellence, key concepts is we're starting. We just want to start. We're going to get the word out there. We're actually launching it on Friday, so I'll have more to report back next week. But just getting the word out there. Administration and governments we're aware of, we want to keep an eye on, but we also know and feel that we can evolve as we adopt. To the extent we see something bubbling up, we'll deal with it. We want to make sure that we are providing support to users, helping them get training and build these things and doing it in a way that makes sense. And together with those end users, figuring out what our best practices are. So we're going to start, and it's exciting. And that's where we are.
Thank you so much, Jared. I've one small thing for you before we get you off the stage is no, it's a small thing. So we like to celebrate the success of what our customers do out in the so-called real world. And one thing we did a few months ago is this idea of us becoming fans of our fans. And last week we had a set of these cards, and last week we got Jared a little PowerApps champ card. So thank you for that. And I have Bella's card, but she needs to come here in person to get it. So let her know that we need her back here. So.
The rookie card. These are going to be worth money one day. Yeah.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, moving on. So next is we have 2 folks from the American Red Cross, Nick Gill and Kathy. Nick is a far better speaker than I am, and so I'm not going to say anything. Hand it over to Nick, and Nick will introduce Kathy to us as well. So here, Nick, it's over to you.
Awesome, thank you. So I work for the American Red Cross, as well as Kathy. Kathy also works for the American Red Cross. But no, she works for the American Red Cross. So we're so excited to be here. Our mission is to be able to help prevent and alleviate human suffering, and we are a volunteer-led organization. We're funded solely by our donors, and so we have a lot. You can see there are a lot of activity that we do daily across a lot of lines of service. Specifically, I work in our training services department. So I work with all of our the folks who do the CPR classes, lifeguarding classes, things like that. Whereas Kathy works with our disaster services and also now even with our IT end user services. So I spoke last year, and during last year I was really I think more just I thought at the time I was up here, but maybe I was really more just getting started. I was at the time supervising an instructor team for Ohio and Michigan. And I had just moved into a new role of managing the logistics team for the country. And where I got started with was really just trying to turn some paper-based processes on ordering supplies and digitizing that. So that way we could actually glean data So that way we could actually try and even understand how many orders are we processing. So when we have instructors out in the field, they were submitting some paper forms. So we got 550 instructors that we got to be able to equip with their supplies and their equipment. So we turned that into a digital process. I don't have an IT background. I just was able to learn the tools. During yesterday's panel, Keith did an amazing job of explaining about this community and how do you get started with it and what support's needed from IT. Really just let them create, let them innovate, right? Because this community is truly there to be able to help and support, to be able to help the individual learn on their own. And for me, PowerApps really has been the gateway to advanced learning for me. You know, I never thought I would be doing things in Azure for SQL databases. I'm doing data modeling in Power BI. I'm rolling on a premium capacity right now. I'm pretty stoked. And you know, I'm learning so many cool new things that just because I don't have an IT degree doesn't mean that I'm not necessarily capable now of doing some of these things. So I'm able to speak the lingo. I'm able to go to IT and actually feel somewhat intelligent as to being able to actually kind of bridge that gap together. And so it's been an amazing journey for me. We're doing things like templating apps. I know, I think Jared had mentioned that you know, we got that cool Supply Hub app, and I am so excited because now I have 9 staff members that are spread out across the country, and one of them, Heather, she's attending sessions here. This is our first time we were able to bring another person here too, and so we're able to template apps. We had the supply order app. Well, you know what? When someone comes on board as staff, we're going to get them a polo shirt. What's the difference between a CPR mannequin and a polo shirt? As far as for SharePoint's concerned, it's no different, right? So we're able to kind of take some of those same templates and apply them to different pieces. We're just getting onto the Common Data Service, and by just, I mean 2 weeks ago. So I'm so excited about that. We have a lot of data in a lot of different places, from Salesforce to Oracle, to just manual exports out of SAP Webby, business objects that are just manual exports, or I guess more scheduled exports. And what I've found so amazing about the Power Platform is that while there's a lot of dynamics that we hear about, the Power Platform's for everyone, and it will take you from wherever you're at, whether you're with Salesforce or Oracle or all these different tools. There's a spot for everybody with the Power Platform, and it really is the glue that holds everything together. So we now have, for all of our instructors, they have these tablets that they've been issued. We use a VMware piece for the mobile device management. We were able to push out PowerApps to all of our staff. So now they don't have to worry about downloading that. They've got all the PowerApps. We use it for our asset tracking, and now we're even integrating with ship engines, another custom API. We found that you can just follow the little custom API or the custom connector wizard, and it just sucks the stuff right in. I'm not a developer, but I know enough to be able to download from GitHub and then just follow the wizard, and it just does it. And we also use Wufoo as a survey system for now. Now there's forms and all sorts of cool stuff, but we're able to connect to all of those things, and so those are some of the things that we're doing now. Here's just a couple pics here of some of the apps that we're utilizing, just with the Supply Hub system. The other one we call it the Gear Hub. And so I was pretty proud. We got these written into our process as to the instructors know, oh yeah, it's on the Supply Hub, and oh yeah, it's on the Gear Hub, and I just think it sounds cool. But volunteers are really where our hearts are, and that is the true impact, where the impact happens within the organization. They're the ones that are on the ground each and every day making that difference. And so many that are a part of this community have heard of the lady that wrote the Hurricane Harvey app, right? And she's become this kind of legend of a sorts without maybe even knowing it. Kathy is been an amazing individual who has helped with another kind of a whole group of volunteers who have been focused on utilizing their passion of technology to be able to help implement solutions that are evolving our disaster response. Kind of moving us from the Stone Age of some of our paper processes and our checklists, and enabling us to be able to have a whole new level of data visibility. Kathy, Joachim
Joachim.
Joachim.
Close enough.
I practiced it all day yesterday, and apparently I practiced it wrong. But Kathy's an amazing individual. Kathy, I think she's going to tell us far more about herself and all the amazing work that she's doing.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Kathy Joachim. Oh, thank you. I'm a volunteer. I'm not an employee, but I'm a volunteer with Red Cross. Been there about 4 years. And if I were to tell you a little bit about my career, I was with Cisco Corporation for 37 years. I did start in development, but pretty much spent most of that time in management. And I now work for Timberline Construction Group. If someone were to ask me, or I think you did ask me, what's my journey to PowerApps? And I guess it would start where I was at a dinner at Red Cross, and this nice man next to me, LV Spencer, he was saying, gosh, I wish I had some volunteers that knew how to administer PowerApps and, SharePoint, and because we were using InfoPath at that time. So I said, wait, I can do that. I'm your woman. And so I said, I hadn't done it in a long time, but I bet I could remember still how to do it. So I brushed off the cobwebs, and actually we developed a tool, and at that time it was to keep track of all the vehicles during a disaster. During Harvey, as big as that was, there was over 1,800 vehicles used, and 1,000 of those were just for rental vehicles alone. And that's important because we want to be good stewards of the donor dollar, and so every dollar spent on rental vehicles, we have to make sure are absolutely needed. And so what they were doing is tracking it on Excel, and every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, they would go to every team and make them justify every single vehicle. So needing that list, an accurate list up to date, was really important to them because they're getting charged for it. If the list isn't updated, they're still being charged for it. So LV's vision was to create a tool that anybody could come in and help put it in these vehicles and then be able to produce some type of either an Excel or Power BI to be able to show management at any time they want to go look at it, they can go see it. So we created the tool, and it worked really good. And it was so good that National came and asked, could we not use that tool for all of the disasters across the nation? And so that was so cool. And then we were in a meeting with one of the SharePoint National guys, and he said, now, Kathy, you do realize InfoPath's going away, and you have to go to this thing called SharePoint. And I don't think my answer was quite what he was expecting, because I think the answer was, hell no. I just wrote it. I'm too old. Of course, you got to realize I started my career with punch cards. So it kind of gives you an idea of how old I am. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to learn at my age another application. And so I think he kind of said, okay, we'll talk about it another day. So that another day, I think I dragged my feet for about 9 months, a year, before he brought it up again and said, now, Kathy, there's this thing called PowerApps. I'm like, fine. I'll look at a couple of YouTube videos. I'll see if I can't figure it out. But I said, but I'm not making any promises. So that weekend I did. I looked at it, and it looked so easy because it talked about how you could create a SharePoint list, and then it talked about how you could push this button, and it would create a PowerApp. And I'm like, oh, it never works that easy. It'll never be that good. And I found a test system, and I created the list, put some data into it, pressed the button, and it worked. And it was so easy. Oh, my God, I was so embarrassed because it was really, really that easy. So I'm like, well, wait. Let me just see if I can create one on my own. So I started it, and yeah, I kept getting stopped. I kept getting hiccuped. And so, but I think what made this so much easier was I was able to go to the web and key in PowerApps if statement and press enter, and I could see where Microsoft put their verbiage, and I could see where everyone else had their same questions and their same issues, and the answers that were there, and they gave examples. So I could actually go copy those examples, put it in, and I could get past my learning curve so much faster. I mean, back in the days when I was learning Access and SQL, I bought this big old book and I'd read it. But nowadays I don't have to. I can go into the web, key in PowerApps, my question, and I can find my answer. I don't think yet there hasn't been an issue that I haven't been able to find by searching through the web. And I think the other part that I like is it's fast too. So an example was Hurricane Harvey. I was watching one of the guys use my tool. It was so cool. And he was putting in all the vehicles in for that disaster. And then he just stops at midday, and he's on the phone the entire time. And finally, I walk over there because the stack of vehicles that need to be put in is raising. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Well," he says, "we've got these rental vehicles. We've got people coming in from the airport. They need a rental vehicle reserved for them. They need to know the reservation number, and they need to know who else is coming in with them that needs to be riding with them in the rental car. So I have to make that reservation, which doesn't take that long." He says, "But it's the texting and calling people that takes so long. I have to call every single driver, which I realized we had 1,000 rental vehicles, and if he had 2 people riding with them, he has to call and contact both riders. So that's a lot of people. No wonder he's on the phone the whole time." So I'm like, wait, I could write an app for that. And so I realized every carrier, we didn't know the carrier of the cell, but every carrier has where you can put a suffix at the end and it will send us a text. So I just picked the top 6 carriers and sent it to all 6, and 5 bounced back, but 1 took. And we just created a Microsoft rule Outlook that would put the rule into, I think I actually had a picture of it. Am I going to the wrong way? Oh no. I pushed the wrong one. Oops, wrong way. There it is. And it's called DART, Disaster Arrival Reservation Tool. But when I first created it, it was just very, very simple. And so the app I created was within like 2 hours I had created it. All I had in there is I let them put in a cell phone number, the reservation number for the driver, and I let some freeform text be in there so he could say, "Oh, don't you need to wait for Jane and John to pick them up too." And so when they pressed the button, it shot off that email he got the text, and then I also sent it to their regular email as well. Same thing for the riders. I sent them, there was a different pre-formatted message, put in their cell phone number. "Oh, go find John over at the counter, and he will drive you to the disaster headquarters." So that made that process so much easier. And the fact that I was able to do it within a couple of hours, I think is amazing. To develop a solution, you could see a problem, determine the issue, and develop the solution. I had it done within a day, and they were already using it that night. So PowerApps is cool. I'm a fan. And of course, it's grown since then. So now what happens is that we get all the information of all the flights of people who are coming in. The tool now, we've expanded on it to where now it will help them see who's coming in together, let them group, and then be able to press that button which says send email, and that's what blasts it everywhere. So, and we have a flow, and so now the flow goes through and removes all the unwanted emails. So I think that was it. And these are some of the other tools. I mean, like all of our IRVs, we created an app that will let anybody see, because management always wants to know I guess you guys have seen them, right? The big van vehicles that have the Red Cross emblem on the side. And that helps deliver food. It could develop cleanup kits. And so they want to know where those are. And so this allows them to go through and be able to see a pictorial as far as where everyone is. What else? Oh, fixed asset tracking, so all the desks and tables and stuff. So we can, it's got barcodes. It'll have pictures that they can go through and look at all the pictures. So it's been fun. I would say, if anything, what I tell you guys is that you're never too. You can teach an old dog new tricks. I've learned that's very true, and that it's not hard. It's really amazing with the community out there that you can put in your questions and find the answers. And it's been great.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Kathy. When Nick was here last year, he shared a bit about your story, and it almost seemed untrue, like you were this mythical person that Nick had made up, I thought.
Oh, Lord.
And then we hunted you down, and we had you come back this year and share your story with us.
Thank you for letting me be
so
here.
thank you,
Appreciate it.
and maybe I have some. I've one of these card thingies for you as well.
cool.
So we did
Thank
here.
you.
I would maybe not pronounce your last name correctly
it's-
either,
it's
so I'm
been
just going to
pronounced
go
everywhere
with
there is.
Kathy. So
Totally fine.
thank you so much,
Thank
Kathy.
you. I
Thanks for being
appreciate
here.
it. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks, everybody.
Can I grab your? Thank you. So I think finally, Nick was going to close us out with this. Nick, do you want me to read through these, or you want to come up here and quickly close us out on the Red Cross side of things? Yep.
So I think some of the key takeaways for the nonprofit side is that it's really opened up a whole new door of volunteer opportunities. Couple the PowerApps with Skype or Teams meetings, and now you can have volunteers all throughout the country that are working together on tasks. Previously, our volunteer jobs were kind of, you got to show up, and it's kind of more local based, or maybe we're flying somebody to an event. But now we do have an actual job description for the volunteers that it's now part of our IT end user services, where they're focused on creating solutions utilizing Flow, Power BI, and PowerApps across any of the lines of business. And so it's just incredible that there's all these folks out there who want to be involved, but maybe they're not the folks who want to spend the night in a shelter. Maybe they're not the folks who want to drive around in a vehicle. And maybe they may even have certain limitations, such as mobility limitations. Maybe they have kids at home and they can't go deploy. This has been a whole new realm of possibilities that I would encourage any nonprofit out there to utilize your volunteers. Give them the tool, and they're going to build you some amazing things. Keith is here as well, and he does a lot with the Templates for Humanity. I see so much opportunity for us in the U.S. because of what Keith has brought us from the U.K., where we did a hackathon at the beginning of MBAS, where people were making all sorts of cool things. These apps that could take pictures of damage and say what kind of damage it was and the severity of it. And people were able to come up with this stuff just during a single day. I mean, it's truly revolutionary. I think about the internet and about how just a couple people had access to the internet initially with these universities, right? And then when everybody had access to the internet, the growth was exponential. Same thing here with this. Only some people could make, the Frozen Chosen could perhaps make apps initially with maybe the IT developers up in the cloud, not the digital cloud. But now anybody can make some of these basic apps, right? And it's just truly revolutionary. And I'm so excited by the exponential growth that we're all going to be able to experience in our organizations.
Thank you. Nick, I have one question. Can I ask you one question before you leave? So I know we're running, we probably won't have time for a whole round of questions. I figured we just let Kathy share her story and that'd be all right. But I did have one question. We talk a lot about community. Multiple people have mentioned that. And I know for myself, when especially there's a new community that I'm not yet a part of, I often don't know where to start. It seems sort of daunting. There are these people out there that seem to be all connected with each other. They talk about community. I'm not a part of it. Where would I start? If I'm one of those that's not quite part of that community as yet, how do I reach out and get started?
I think it's kind of like being a Cheerio on the floor that the vacuum just comes by and sucks it up. If you make yourself there and in the midst of folks and you want to learn, you're going to get sucked into it. I think the Twitter, I didn't even know about the Twitter piece, but the Twitter piece, that's a huge one. Get onto the forum, and most importantly, just find the folks with the swag, and the buttons and the stickers, and just introduce yourself, because it's the same people that are across all these different user groups, whether it's the power addicts, whether it's those dynamic guys. I mean, everyone wants to be a part of all of the different groups. So you get in touch with one, you're going to be in touch with them all, and it's not any kind of clique or exclusive thing. All you got to do is just introduce yourself and just say that you want to be there and want to learn.
And just for that response, you earned yourself a little card as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for being here. Yeah. So With that, thank you, everyone. Thanks especially to folks. Some thanks to Dipash and Matt, who are here all the way from the UK. I did want to highlight a few more sessions that will be going on in this room. So if stories is your thing, or you've got friends who want to hear how the platform is being used, not really from Microsoft, but from our customers, there's a series of sessions going on in this room today. And that's about it. It's a wrap. Thank you.